Now on CoastTV News.
Pothole problems. A bumpy ride through one Milford neighborhood is raising big concerns and prompting calls for action at City Hall. Camera crackdown. A new plan could catch red light runners in the act. The intersections being targeted and fines would fund. Plus, Helping Hands, a big project for some of the region's most vulnerable, is finally ready. Who it's for and why it matters.
This is CoastTV News at 11.
Rough road conditions in one Milford community sparking calls for change. Good evening. I'm Christina DeRobertis. Welcome to CoastTV News at 11. New tonight, a call for developer accountability in Milford. Representative Brian Shoup wrote a letter to Milford City Council on behalf of the Hearthstone community. And as CoastTV News reporter Emma Aiken shows us, those who live there are frustrated.
Driving in Hearthstone Manor has been a rocky road for some.
You have to swerve to get away from the bumps.
That's 79-year-old Pat Mayfield, who says she just shouldn't have to deal with this.
What worries me is the fact that I have to avoid the problems on the road. And if there's a car coming in the opposite direction, I have to stop and make sure that their car has passed before I can go around those holes or problems in the road.
People like Mayfield are why Representative Brian Shoup wrote a letter to Milford City Council asking them to hold the developer accountable, urging infrastructure improvements before approving any future development here.
I want to make sure that it is in writing when the city can take legal action in order to force the developer to pave these roads moving forward.
Last year, House Bill 297 passed, which makes it so developers can't leave the conditions like this, but for some, like Hearthstone Manor, that was before the law.
In areas where the developers are acting in bad faith, we've got to push them. We've got to force them to do better.
Shoup and others urging council to make a move before neighbors like Mayfield are forced to move. In Milford, Emma Aiken, Coast TV News.
And that letter Emma was telling us about was presented to the Milford City Council earlier this evening. Staying in Milford, the city might be giving the green light to a new red light program. City leaders looking to install red light cameras around the city. 3 intersections along Route 113 and Route 14 would get the cameras if passed. Intersections DelDOT says are at high risk of crashes. City leaders say their police department would issue violations and revenue from the fines would go towards city improvements.
The city of Dover have gotten revenue from their program in the 6-figure area. I don't know whether we'll see that or not, but any of the revenue that we do receive, it has to be used in a manner that either improves intersection safety or education or our police.
And if the program is approved, DelDOT officials say they don't know yet a timeline for camera installation. Now we're going to go ahead and look live outside into the Lewis area and turn things over to our First Alert Chief Meteorologist, Paul Williams. Good evening, Paul.
Good evening, Christina. And right now we have increasing cloud cover that's happening throughout our region. For now, we're holding at 68 degrees in Ocean City right now. But notice dew point temperature 66, air temperature 68. So those temperatures both in the 60s, we have an increased amount of moisture. And so we're feeling that in the atmosphere right now. Although we're not seeing it manifest much in the way of cloud cover or scattered shower activity now, but that's going to happen later in the forecast, actually for Tuesday, mid-morning Tuesday in the afternoon. Widening the scope here, we are keeping a close eye on this line of scattered showers. It's prompting concern for possibility of flooding. That's usually what happens when you have scattered showers connected to a quasi-stationary front or boundary, but it's behind it with this cold front where it could get a little dicey. Here's a quick look at what we're expecting for the evening time. Look for some fog to kick in by 1 o'clock and then a chance of scattered showers as early as 9. We'll have more on your forecast coming up in a moment. To then, back to you, Christina.
Paul. In regional news tonight, Maryland's Oyster Advisory Commission met to talk about the future of oysters in the Chesapeake Bay. The commission reviewed a set of 2025 goals that are focused on improving oyster habitat, maintaining populations, and supporting sustainable harvesting. The targets include restoring at least 1,800 acres of oyster reef, sustaining oyster abundance through fishing and farming, and keeping existing reefs healthy.
bushel harvest over time from 2006 up to 2025. You can see it's generally upward with some declines along the way. The peak harvest recently was 720,000 bushels. That was a couple seasons ago, 23 season. It then declined to 437,000 bushels the next season, and now it's currently at 319,000 bushels. So there's been quite a drop from 720.
And commission members also say they plan to focus on water quality and removing toxic contaminants from the bay. State police are looking for a man they say assaulted a teenager at the movies at Midway. Troopers say a 14-year-old boy was recording on his phone in the men's bathroom when a man that you see on your screen walked in with two kids. Police say they got into an argument, then the man pushed the teen twice, knocking him down. Police say the boy was not hurt. Delaware State Police are looking to identify the man involved. Well, you may remember the hiring of Rehoboth Beach City Manager Taylor Tedder and his large salary, and the hiring process sparking a constituent lawsuit. Tedder making headlines again today as CoastTV News reporter Brandon Ferguson shows us a possible increase to Tedder's $250,000 salary was on the table.
Christina, earlier today here in Rehoboth Beach, there was a special meeting taking place at the City Hall where Mayor Stan Mills withdrew the item off the agenda that would increase the merit of City Manager Taylor Tedder by the request of Tedder himself. Tedder, like every other Rehoboth Beach employee, has the chance every year to increase his salary anywhere from 0 to 3% based off performance. Tedder not taking the raise is good news for Rehoboth locals like Mike Shermer.
I do believe that he's in it for the long term and wants to create some goodwill. And so, good for him.
Tedder makes $250,000. That salary and hiring package drew ire and even a Freedom of Information Act complaint. Mayor Mills stood by Tedder's hiring, noting that Tedder's salary was $90,000 more than his predecessors because they could not find anyone else willing to take the job. Mayor Mills said Tedder did not accept the increase in merit to, quote, create goodwill in the community. In Rehoboth Beach, Brandon Ferguson, CoastTV News.
Now, with city money at stake here, this brings us to our CoastTV poll tonight. We want to know how you think politicians should handle transparency concerns. Looking at the updated results now, 86%, this has been the most popular answer all day, say full disclosures. A few say public forums, policy updates, or external review. We also have a comment tonight from Elizabeth in Longneck who says election to public office is an honor and a privilege, a sign of public trust. She says transparency is essential for the trust of the public that they're elected to serve. We want to know what you think. You can still vote. You can still leave a comment. Just go to coasttv.com or use our mobile app. Well, a $25 million replenishment project is slowly washing away. The ocean inching closer to Coastal Highway near the Indian River Inlet once again. CoastTV News reporter Kevin Zapay shows us the ongoing struggle to keep the beach in place and what's being done to protect the shoreline.
Jim Price has loved riding his bike near the Indian River Inlet for years.
We come over here quite often. We frequent the park here.
But says he's sad to see the sand washing away here once again.
It's happened quite a few times coming across there, and it's unfortunate that it's eroding the beach and that we needed to come up with a solution to get it fixed.
In August of 2024, ocean waves broke through the dunes on the north side of the inlet all the way to the highway. Price saw it happen firsthand.
Now, I guess my first reaction was, can I get across?
Then came months of repairs that involved adding more sand using these pipes and planting dune grass to help stabilize the sand and prevent further erosion. Although the grass is still here, most of the sand has already washed away. DENREC is aware of the problem and hopes to find some solutions.
According to DENREC, parts of the lost sand is partly due to the high waves and the recent storms that have occurred. but they hope that the sand will return naturally to the shore.
It's unfortunate with the storms that come in here that the sand, I think, is going to continue to erode, so there needs to probably be a more permanent fix at some point.
According to DENREC, the Army Corps of Engineers plans to go through with the second phase of the Nourishment Project, which involves pumping an additional 300,000 cubic yards of sand from the Ebb shore. I'm Kevin Zapay, Indian River Inlet, Coast TV News.
Moving to national news now, as law enforcement in Los Angeles prepares for another night of protests, the war of words between California state leaders and President Donald Trump is heating up. California's Attorney General and Governor are now suing the Trump administration over the president's move to federalize the California National Guard in response to the protests. Michael Yoshida is in Los Angeles with the latest developments.
We don't take lightly to the president abusing his authority and unlawfully mobilizing California National Guard troops. Sending them in only escalated the situation and contributed to the developments we saw overnight.
A fourth day of demonstrations in Los Angeles as crowds protest the Trump administration's intensified immigration crackdown. Clashes between demonstrators and law enforcement over the weekend led to dozens of arrests. Meanwhile, there's more fallout over President Donald Trump deploying the National Guard to respond to the protests. Here's California's Attorney General Rob Bonta in a virtual news conference.
I, in partnership with Governor Gavin Newsom, are suing President Trump and asking the court to set aside the president's unlawful action federalizing the California National Guard.
Governor Newsom firing off on X, one post saying in part, "We are suing Donald Trump. This is a manufactured crisis. He is creating fear and terror to take over a state militia and violate the U.S. Constitution." But Trump says he's not backing down.
We let it burn. We want to be politically correct. We wanted to be nice. We want to be nice to the criminal. And what you're doing is destroying the fabric of our life in this country. No, we did the right thing.
Trump also left the door open to deploying Marines to respond to the LA protests. Roughly 700 Marines based in California have been mobilized, according to 3 people familiar with the matter. In Los Angeles, I'm Michael Yoshida reporting.
And we are just getting started tonight. Coming up next, the cost to cool your home this summer could be going up. We have tips to save on utility bills in tonight's Consumer Watch. But first, a safe haven in Harrington is offering more than shelter for young people without one.
Well, one day we might have to keep a close eye on is Tuesday because we're watching out for a chance of scattered showers in Cambridge and spotty showers actually in Crisfield. We'll talk about that potential of rain in just 60 seconds. Well, you got to kind of remember, we are indeed easing into the depths of the summer months here pretty quickly. And so humidity and heat, all that kind of comes with the territory of living on the coast. And that's why we moved here, right? To enjoy the beach. So we're going to have some perfect beach weather after we get past this storminess of tomorrow. Our Irish ice camera in Lewis right now, we're at 67 degrees. Dew point temperature 65. So the air temperature and the dew point temperature are really close to one another. That usually means the air is starting to feel a little thick, so to speak. Now, we did receive some precipitation early this morning. In fact, nearly over 3/4 of an inch for us in Georgetown at 8/10. Some other areas we received some rain that we measured close to an inch for us in Prime Hook and Lewis, over a half an inch in Harbison and Stokely, and then Slaughter Beach just shy of 1/4 of an inch and Point 17. Just shy of 2/10 of an inch officially there. 80 degrees, that was the measured high for us in Georgetown. We warmed all the way up to 81 degrees in Cambridge. We're at 67 degrees in Georgetown, Redden, Milton, Millsboro, Dagsboro, Gumboro, and Del Mar. Dew point temperatures in the 60s as well. So we're going to start feeling a lot of moisture building up. We could see a little bit of fog too, but we're not seeing any concerns for fog here. But though we do have some fog advisory up along the coast throughout portions of New Jersey, so that kind of lets you know in the general vicinity we're having a lot of moisture here. We want to keep a close eye on 2 lines of development right here along the quasi-stationary border that's going to be moving throughout western portions of Maryland, and then this second and third frontal boundary is going to push through that could really kick off some stronger storms. By 6 o'clock in the morning, we'll see some random sprinkles. By noon, we're watching out for a chance of isolated thunderstorm. Now, here's the interesting part. You see, watch this. See how these temperatures are in the 80s, 82 in Georgetown for tomorrow's high, and 80 in Cambridge, 82 in Vienna, for example, and 82 in Berlin, 82 actually in Ocean City. That sets the stage for a lot of thermodynamic energy that could actually set things up for spot showers to flare up. Now, this recent run is different from our earlier runs as early this evening. By 8 o'clock, we're looking for rain from Dewey Beach down to Berlin and Ocean City. That pushes out of the way. Now we have a developing line here. Okay, we're going to call this the Highway 9 line of rain right about late lunchtime, 1:30. That's going to push through and flare up as it moves over towards Dewey Beach. We're going to watch out for that. And then we have spotty showers at 8 o'clock in the morning for Ocean Pines down towards New York. That's going to flare up kind of quickly too. After the rain on Tuesday, then we escalate to a level of 9 for the UV index. Very high, 3 days in a row. You're going to get burned if you're not careful, so prepare. Here's a look at your extended forecast. And remember, get Dad a gift somewhere other than, let's say a gas station, because he deserves a good gift too.
All right, I will. Thank you, Paul. Well, the first and only home for young adults who are homeless or existing in the foster care system in Sussex County opened its doors today. CoastTV News reporter Ana Sofia Roman takes us inside the new facility and shows us what it means to those involved.
Walking through the hallway of what's about to become the new home for those between the ages of 18 and 23 who need it the most. The former bed and breakfast is now a facility that includes 10 private rooms with its own closet and bathroom.
So this is a dream come true, not just for me, but for 10 young people who right now have no place to rest, no place to call their home.
The home also includes a kitchen, a conference room, a kitchenette, office spaces, and more. The project was 3 years in the making, and those involved are calling it a huge labor of love.
Most of the time our youth, because they're not coming in with much on their back, we're able to provide support for them with their clothing, with food, with shoes, anything that they might need in order to stabilize them. And then the goal is, of course, for them to get a job if they don't already have one, finish school if they haven't already, if they need mental health supports, anything like that.
Lifeline South says the house is half furnished and they expect to have the young adults moving in as soon as next week. In Harrington, Ana Sofia Roman, Coast TV News.
Up next, a broadcast breakup. Warner Bros. Discovery announces a major split. We'll explain what's changing and when. Warner Bros. Discovery will split itself into two individually publicly traded companies. The first, called Streaming and Studies. It's going to center around HBO Max and Warner Bros. Studio, and then the second one, Global Networks. That will be based around CNN and other TV networks. In a statement, Warner Bros. Said this will provide, quote, each company with greater strategic flexibility and focus. The breakup expected to take place sometime next year. Well, U.S. imports from China are dropping at a rate not seen since the start of the pandemic, more than 20% last month. American ports have seen big declines in cargo volume since President Donald Trump slapped tariffs on most U.S. imports in April. But even though tariffs on Chinese exports were lowered from 145% to 30% last month, most goods that arrived in May were booked under the higher tariff rate. Well, it is going to cost you more to cool your home this summer, but there are things you can do to help lower the cost. In today's Consumer Watch, Jen Sullivan has tips on how to lower your utility bills this summer.
Summers are getting hotter, and more areas of the country are seeing significant heat waves, and those high temperatures are driving up energy costs as people try and stay cool.
As we're seeing higher temperatures, people are flocking inside and keeping their air conditioners turned up.
Jennifer Amon with the American Council for an Energy Efficient Economy, known as ACEEE, says rising temperatures means rising prices.
We really are seeing this happening across the country.
This year, the average electric bill between June and September is projected to reach $784, according to the National Energy Assistance Directors Association. That's more than 4% higher than last year when adjusted for inflation. Depending on where you live, those costs could be higher or lower.
People can be really shocked when they get those first bills, particularly if their rates have changed in their region.
There are things you can do to help cut those rising costs.
One of the best things you can do is insulate your home. Insulate and air seal.
Raising the temperature on your thermostat by even 2 degrees when you're not home can help.
You can set it up a few degrees and you'll save, 5 to 10% on your cooling.
Other things you can do, make sure your HVAC system isn't more than 20 years old. Shades can make a big difference in keeping rooms cool. Eamon says don't use your dryer, dishwasher, or even the oven in the middle of the day. All of those appliances generate heat and will make your house hotter. And only use ceiling fans in occupied rooms. Otherwise, it's just going to waste energy. For Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
Still ahead, tonight kicked off week 2 of the Maryland Supreme Summer League. Find out which side came away victorious in one of the thrillers of the evening. And coming up, digital dangers. A major review connects screen time to emotional issues in children.
Here's a look at your golf forecast. Look for overcast conditions throughout the day, and if it looks like it's going to rain, it's probably going to rain on you. Morning fog and spotty rain to boot.
This is CoastTV News at 11.
A new study found that gun deaths among kids surged in states that loosened their gun laws after a landmark 2010 Supreme Court ruling. The ruling gave states more power to set their own gun regulations. It led to some states tightening those restrictions, others weakening them. And the study found over the next 13 years, thousands of more kids died from gun violence than earlier trends would have predicted. All of the increases happened in states that had more lax gun laws. Children who spend too much time staring at screens appear to have more behavioral issues. It's including turning to screens to cope with emotions. That's according to a report published on Monday in the Psychological Bulletin Journal. It analyzed more than 100 studies of kids ages 11 and under. The author says the longer a child has his or her eyes glued to a device, the greater the chance he or she will develop socio-emotional problems. That's including anxiety, depression, and aggression. The bottom line, parents should set limits for screen time. It is Uterine Cancer Awareness Month this month, and cases of cancers of the uterus and the death rate from these diseases are on the rise in the U.S., according to the American Cancer Society. But early detection, it can save lives. And in tonight's Health Minute, Mandy Gaither has a look at the warning signs every woman should know and has more on new research which could lead to an at-home uterine cancer test in the future.
It's one of the few cancers with a rising death rate in the U.S. This year alone, an estimated 69,100 new cases of cancers of the uterus will be diagnosed, and more than 13,800 women are expected to die from these diseases.
With early stage diagnosis, we're able to have better outcomes.
Dr. Christina Butler with the Mayo Clinic says currently there are no screening tests for uterine cancer in women who don't have any signs or symptoms. That's why she says knowing warning signs is important. Those include abnormal vaginal discharge or bleeding, bleeding after menopause or between menstrual cycles, and pain or pressure in the pelvis.
Vaginal secretions, whether a woman is bleeding or not, contain valuable DNA particles that allow us to detect cancer or precancer in women.
Mayo Clinic researchers are currently studying a way to detect cancers of the uterus at home using a medical tampon, which a study participant briefly inserts and then mails off for analysis. Butler says this potential screening test could be less invasive than those used if uterine cancer symptoms are present, which includes a biopsy of the uterus or pelvic exam.
I would say we're very close to having this available for women. I would say within the next 5 years.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
The Delmarva Sports Network from the Wawa Studios.
Summer League basketball continued tonight on Delmarva. Week 2 of the Maryland Supreme Summer League brought some great finishes. And here's a great one. Johnson Trucking from Mardella battling Team Persevere of JMB in a tale of two halves. In the first, Team Persevere came out of the gate hot. Just over a minute in, Josiah Wigfall pulling up and knocking down a triple for an early 5-3 lead. After a quick stop back on the offensive end, it's James Matthews missing short on the three, but he makes the fundamental play following his shot for the putback layup. Then, a couple minutes later, it's Kyler Dickerson getting in on the action, left wide open in the corner, and that's just too much space for him. They led by 11 at the half. but Johnson Trucking found something coming out of the break. Down 6 early second. Here's Zy Johnson. Deep from the right wing, it is Cash. Leads down to 3. 2 minutes later, they're now up 4 and being pests at midcourt. Elijah Thomas rips this pass away for the steal, dumps it off to James Talbert for the lay, leads up to 6. The team persevering, back up 3, but it's Camden Shields lighting it up from the corner to knot it up at 39, and he's not done. The ensuing possession, they find him in the very same spot, and he produces a very similar result. A massive second half helps Johnson Trucking pick up the 55-47 win. That'll do it for sports. Have a great night, everyone.
Here's a live look outside into Salisbury from Salisbury University. We'll have one more check on the forecast coming up after the break.
In Milford right now, it's 67 degrees actually. We'll stay in the upper 60s with increasing cloud cover. Our umbrella giveaway winner is Francis Young of Selbyville. Congratulations, courtesy of Paul Davis Restoration Home Remodeling. Keep up with your forecast by calling our weather line 443-880-9100. Your forecast is just a call away, sponsored by the law offices of Brockstead, Mandalis, and Federico. Finally, here's a look at your exclusive 10-day forecast. Now listen, we're going to see light sprinkles at 6 o'clock and 8 o'clock, heavier showers at 10, and then watching out for thunderstorms around lunchtime, just late lunch, like 1:30, 2 o'clock. Then on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we go back to being hot and humid like a regular summer day.
Love it. Okay, thank you, Paul, and thanks for joining us for Coast TV News at 11 tonight. You can always find some more news and weather on our Coast TV News app. The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon's up next. We'll see you back tomorrow for Coast TV News at 5 a.m. Have a great night.